Get ready for an exclusive webinar to learn how HP looks at the whole phenomena of big data and help understand its customers on how this data growth can be optimized to the maximum level with the help of core technologies that will eventually deliver value to one's business. To this end, the speaker, Mr. Barun Lala, Director of HP's Storage Division, will give a glimpse of HP's different solution offerings that are built on scale-out architectures. So here we go.
So over the next 15 to 20 minutes, I am going to share with you the overall concept on big data and how it is going to directly related to the storage platform. And I'm also going to share with you the impact of big data, how I perceive it is going to play a role within the Indian market. So one of the first things which all of you need to understand is that what is big data? Big data is nothing but a lot of software, appliances, tools, technologies, which is having an exponential growth in the market, which is typically unstructured in nature, and we need to see that what all is required in terms of integrating that. Now, if you actually look at big data, one of the important things which you need to know is that there are four dimensions to the growth of this data. This is what I call as 3V and 1C. 3V, why? Because the velocity of data that is growing is exponential, and therefore it is extremely important, and you will have a dimension for velocity. Second thing is the variety of the data. That is, the data can come in any format, in any shape, in any size. And the third thing which is there in the 3V is the volume. The volume of data which is, which cannot be estimated at any particular point in time. And 1C is the complexity of the data. Now, if you see the transition in the IT industry from the time of change from mainframe to the client server architecture and onto the internet world, you will typically find that during the mainframe stage, users used to create data, but it was very predictable in nature. If you see it now in the age of internet, everyone is connected all the time, from anywhere, and anybody and everybody is actually creating data and is accessing data, and the data can be in any form, shape, and size. And to give you an example of how this data is getting created, you can create a video data, you can get audio data, email data, text data in any different form and size. And it is also very important for us to know that the SoMe market, which we call as the social media market, the influence of the SoMe market and how it is going to change the way that we used to handle data. Needless to mention, if you see the mobile phone industry, you will see that more and more people are using smartphones. And that is going to be one of the tools where data is getting created on the fly all the time. Then, of course, you will see that there is tremendous amount of, application specific need for data. And some of the examples could be, surveillance data. And we all know the impact of surveillance into India. You will also see a lot of influence on the geospatial data and also on the biometrics in terms of the UID project, the kind of data which is getting created. So needless to mention, we can see an exponential growth in the data footprint within the country in various forms and sizes. Therefore, if you actually have this as the big data, one of the important things which you need to know is that which data is important for you. Second thing which is also important is you need to know that what is the data which you need to retrieve quite often. So your archiving, your restore, your backup solution is going to be dependent on that. The other important factor which you need to remember is that how long you need to keep this data. It may be related to compliance and regulations, and it could be very important factor in determining as to what amount of data and how fast of data you need to retrieve. Do you need to retrieve it real time? Do you retrieve it once in 15 days? So these are the questions and answers which you need to have, because these are the ideas which you need to know before you adopt technologies in managing this data. One of the other important things which you need to know is that it is extremely important for us to figure out that I may be having this data coming in from various different sources in various different formats, but it is extremely important for us to know that this data is going to be physically stored in what shape and size. Now, obviously, we get to hear a lot of things on private cloud and public cloud and stuff like that. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is that it is very important for business users to do predictive analysis of data. There is also a term which I want to use, is meaningful knowledge of data. Now this is going to be extremely important terminologies in the big data landscape, and let me just explain to you why I'm saying so. Gone are the days when we actually used to say that what will happen with the data. We need to know what has actually happened with the data instead of getting to know what will happen, and that is what I'm calling as predictive analysis. So it is extremely important for us to know that what is this predictive analysis and what is the quantum of information that we need to know from the predictive analysis perspective. The second thing which I mentioned is meaningful information of data. Now data can be stored, as I said, in various different formats, but when you want to retrieve this data, you need to have a meaningful information for the data for which you are giving a search, and therefore it is going to play a very important role. The second and third most important thing in this whole big data engine is how you are going to store your data, and what are the tools and technologies that you are going to use for it. Are you going to use a tape-based storage? Are you going to use a disk-to-disk storage? If you have two sides of disaster recovery and DC, you also need to know that whether you are going to have a synchronous replication between a site which is close by, or you want to have it saved in another site which is far off in asynchronous mode. Do you want it online all the time, or you can have a partial backup of the data offline? So all these tools, technologies, strategies in terms of storing of data is also going to be extremely important as you grow forward. Now what exactly is big data? Now if you look at the two axes of solution, and if you measure the activity in terms of IOPS with respect to the storage performance, or you want to see another axis which is related to the content of the data, anything and everything which goes beyond normal processing is actually which you can club it as big data. It has got no boundary, it has got no size, it has got no predictability, and therefore it creates a lot of possibilities around that. And that is something which comes as a challenge, because this is something which is not anticipated, and this is something which you want to manage in a very predictable manner. Therefore, I just want to give you a snapshot as to what is the growth of this big data. One of the important things for you to note is that the data, which is today close to 0.8 zettabytes, is going to grow to 35 zettabytes in a span of next 10 years. Therefore, the growth of data over the next decade is going to be 44 times than what we are actually seeing it today. So if you actually ask me, I think this is going to play a very dominant role in the whole IT landscape within the country as we go forward. So what you are going to see is that you are going to see new technologies. You're going to see new products which are designed for, unstructured data management, taking the, market and replacing the traditional players in the storage market for whom the products have been designed for structured data growth. So you will find huge number of technologies coming in managing this. You will be hearing multi-tenancy as a technology. You will be hearing multi-tiering as a technology. You will be very quickly hearing federated storage as a technology. So there are multiple technologies which you are going to hear in the near future from the various vendors, and how it is going to remarkably change the way you are going to save your storage. The other important thing is that, users, for example us, we can actually decide how the data is going to be stored and in which particular space or which particular block of data will be stored in which particular spindle of the disk. I can actually determine that, and they are going to be very advanced technologies, which will actually help us in doing that, because more and more, faster retrieval and, low cost is going to determine that the way that we are going to use storage and define storage platforms. Now, I also want to give you a view as to the various kind of workloads, in terms of, giving you how the data needs to be stored. So one of the key parameters is that, of course, there will be price. Of course, there will be a price performance index, okay, which is going to be measured in, IOPS per second or IOPS per hour or IOPS per minute. But obviously, it will need to be equated with capacity and bandwidth requirements for, memory hungry and storage hungry programs and the intensity of the programs. So I very clearly see high performance computing, playing a very big role, and the analytics and the SAP HANA especially, driving markets in India in a very remarkable way. I would like to see days when SAP HANA comes in, how the database vendors are actually going to struggle in this market space. So you are going to have a two-dimensional growth in terms of managing data, both in terms of a scale-out architecture as also a scale-up architecture going forward. One of the important things which I would like to mention here is that the content which is traditionally created, okay, by the regulatory compliance and the needs of all the governments, you will see that a lot of things are going to change as we go forward, and it is going to be driven by the market dynamics as to adoption of cloud in India. As I see it, more and more companies are going to get based on cloud, okay, but of course the market maturity is also going to play a big role in the cloud market, and these are going to be defined by the security parameters which is required and the compliance parameters which is required within an organization. Second and third important thing which is going to have, and I mentioned it earlier also, is the scale and efficiency, and of course the reliability and the longevity of the data. And you will soon find that all the storage vendors are going to create fabrics, which is going to lower down the cost. Very soon, you will see vendors, basically talking to you about a flat SAN architecture in the overall landscape, and that is going to bring in a new dimension in the way a data center is actually designed. So from a multi-tier data center architecture, you will soon find a single tier architecture which is going to give you a better performance, almost a 2 times performance, and almost 90%, 90 to 97% lesser number of cables within a data center. So if you actually see what is the impact and what is the relation of storage with respect to the cloud platform. Now let me share with you some of the things, which is going to shape the future. You will actually get, very soon, storage which is designed for cloud, which we say as the cloud ready storage platforms. So very clearly, you will see that storage is going to be built for our architecture, which is unpredictable in nature and which is going to quickly serve as an elastic manner the business needs of our IT organization with the IT needs. And that is what I call as the alignment of IT with respect to business. And you are going to see it very fast. I would also like to share with you that when we see this change in terms of the deployment, okay, from the storage viewpoint, you will also see huge number of technologies coming in, and you will see vendors coming in and saying that they can actually do backup in the tune of 100 terabytes per hour, which is unprecedented. And it's a reality, it's happening today. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. And these are the kind of changes which are going to come in. You're also going to see huge amount of automation in the way that the software tools are going to behave. And here I would like to emphasize on a few factors. If you see the converged infrastructure landscape, you will find that 5 different parameters are going to be very important in your design philosophies. And these 5 parameters will be virtualization, resilience, optimization, orchestration, and modularity of approach. So you need to keep in mind that when you are going to spend any dollars, the CIOs of the company should actually concentrate on seeing that at least 70% of the money is actually spent on innovation and 30% on operations. So I would like to give a brief summary as to what I discussed so far. Number one is that you will see increasingly that the storage infrastructure, you will have a scale out approach. There will be no need for customers to buy some storage with headroom for growth. Those concepts are changing. You should actually buy storage exactly as to what you need today. And the technology providers should have technologies to actually upgrade your storage as and when you need it. There are technologies which we are going to come in which we are clubbing as a technology which is called the cloud burst technology. And I would like to spend the time next 15 seconds in explaining to you what is this cloud burst technology. A cloud burst technology is something that when suppose your business says that you need more storage, and when you have run out of space either internally or externally, which means that when I say externally, it means that you would have had some cloud architecture which is outside your premise and you have been exploring that. Now for a time being, just assume that not only have you run out of space, your cloud service provider has run out of space. You need to know that what flexibility is there in terms of reaching out to your business needs, because they are asking for more storage application, and you need to see that whether a cloud burst technology is there in terms of allowing you to get connected on Amazon Web Services on the fly at the quickest possible time, which will give you an elastic feel in terms of changing your IT needs with your business needs, and that is going to be a reality. So vendors must quickly be able to give you this flexibility in terms of your growth engine. So few things which I mentioned to you earlier also, I don't want to repeat. SSD drives are going to be the future in terms of storage devices. Okay, fiber channel, I guess that in a few years time, I think fiber channel drives are going to get ruled out, and SSD drives will become much more cheaper and affordable, and we'll be seeing SSD drives replacing majority of the fiber channel options. You will see huge amount of people talking about thin technologies. You will find people talking about thin reclamation, okay, as a technology going forward. You will find a lot of vendors talking about federated deduplication. Okay, so you are going to hear them out very quickly. I already talked to you about tiering of architecture, and when I say tiering of architecture, it is a very, very important technology which you need to know. So you need to buy storage devices which can actually have mixed level of storages between the SSD drives, the fiber channel drives, and the low cost drives like a SAS disk. And the application or your storage box should be intelligent enough to use the SSD drives as and when performance is needed. And when performance is not needed, they can actually move back that data into the SAS drives automatically. And these are all the kinds of technologies which needs to be there in the flexible storage boxes which are going to get designed. So in terms of the key technologies which are going to be very, very relevant for you, okay, first of all, the theme get thin, be thin, and stay thin is going to be some of the important requirements for you. Second thing is that on deduplication, I think increased data protection at less cost and in lesser amount of time is going to be extremely, extremely critical for you. And you need to have not only a very fast backup, but equally speed in terms of restoring this data as and when you need it. I talked about the scale out architecture and various different kinds of products in terms of NAS products and D2D devices are going to become extremely handy as you move forward. Obviously I talked about multi-tier architecture in terms of policy-based tiers. So very clearly you are going to have policy-based solutions, and more vendors you will see are going for multi-tier, multi-tenancy types of products in the market. Federated storage is going to be extremely important because I am 100% sure that a particular box may have its own limitation to grow within that particular box. But the scale out architecture, which means that if you have another box, you should be able to create LUNs between these two boxes, without any, without any hesitation. And this will mean a lower cost of ownership and better, throughput life for that particular box. And I had already shared with you as to how SSD drives is going to be, rule the roost in terms of high performance for optimized transactional loads. And this is what is going to take shape in the very near future. I also want to round off my talk in terms of sharing few technologies, which is going to be playing a very major role in terms of the way these big data solutions need to be managed. You will be hearing about Vertica and autonomy, in a very big manner going forward, which will not only give you a linear scalability, but it is also going to ensure high availability and fault tolerance at every single level, which is going to make your architecture resilient. And if you remember, resilient is going to be one of the pillars of converged infrastructure. And that is the prediction of IDC as well, that in the year 2012 and 2013, converged infrastructure is going to rule the market space. Before finishing, I just want to give a snapshot to you with respect to what HP information optimization is going to come in, and how backup softwares like HP Data Protector, softwares like Autonomy, Idle 10, and a whole lot of stack, from the OpenView stack is going to get integrated in a meaningful manner to create data and manage data, protect data, integrate data, share the data, and create it in a more meaningful manner. So you must remember that big data can get generated in various different formats, but you need to have tools and technologies to manage that. And I will just let you know that the 3 I's of managing this is you need to have a better insight, a better intuition, and a better idea in giving you a complete enterprise solution for managing this big data. So with that background, I will finish my presentation, and I'd like to just share with you that HP has got solutions around this, which covers the 3-part solution, the left-hand network solutions, the store one solutions for D2D, and the iBrick solution for the NAS platform. Thank you so much.
So thank you all for being a part of this webinar. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact us at any time at response@itwarnews.net. Thank you.